Join us for a review of the BMW X7 as the M Performance model. Let's go! The BMW X7 comes standard with LED headlamps, and there are already those adaptive LED lamps. Option, you can get the laser light, which we also have here, and with those blue accentuations. 600 meters of high beam range in Europe, only 300 meters in the US, so far as it is limited by regulations. Here the M Performance model, the M50d, has a sporty accentuations in the lower part with the spoilers right there. Then the X7 in general gets this huge front double kidney grille. If you look in close up, then you can see that those vertical fins on the inside are closed. They're just open on demand when the cooling is needed. And of course, really upright, a very strong appearance in the front. The length is at 5 meters 15, 203 inches or 16 foot 9. That's 23 centimeters longer than the X5 or 13 centimeters more in wheelbase. And you can see it has a very upright and strong structure in the side profile right here with those. It's really cool when you approach the car, then the mirrors flip out and also the lights are activated already. Here, really upright windows that you have some space on the interior, but it's a little bit inclined. You can see it rather from the rear very soon. Here the M Performance model M50d gets those contrasting mirror caps right there, the M badge, and those are optional 22-inch wheels, and together with the M Performance brake. Really cool. As for the visual setup, we'll see out later how it plays out for the comfort. In the rear you can see there an X5 looks a little bit more elegant because here in this rear part they try to gain a little bit more space, and then you can see that it's smaller to the upper part of the car, and that looks, I think, sometimes a little bit weird. Well, what's your take on that? M50d logo right there with the M badge. Tail lamps are horizontally drawn. Petrol side, there's a 3-liter 6-cylinder petrol engine, 340 horsepower, the 40i. Then there's a 4.4-liter V8 petrol, 462 horsepower, the 50i. And we have driven those in the other review. Please check out that link. And then the diesel side, the 3-liter 6-cylinder, inline 6-cylinder diesel, either as 30D, that is then 265 horsepower, or here the M50D with 400 horsepower. And the acceleration figure of this M Performance diesel is 5.4 seconds to 100 kilometers or 62 miles an hour, and that's the equal acceleration figure as the V8 petrol. Very fancy and also fits to the exterior color definitely, so great color choices. However, in most markets only animal skin trim for the seats available. It was said that at some point there might also be Sensatec more sustainable leatherette for the X7, which is also available for the X5, especially in the US. We have to see about that and check out how it plays out for different markets. BMW engineers told me that the seats are the same as in the X5, but you have a higher position overall in the vehicle. So that is then somewhat similar, but also a little bit different at the same time. M50d has those special entry badges and also those aluminum pedals, for example. Well, getting inside here is fairly easy, but of course you sit quite high, have this elaborate king of the road driving experience here. And you see here when I, for example, start the engine, the steering wheel comes towards me. That's a comfort feature, and overall it also goes down, and you can put it up, of course, and down and inward and outward again. Interior overview here, you have two 12.3-inch screens, left and right. This is also all standard as it is, at least this is standard. Then really wrapped tighter also from the materials. As for the top dashboard, big head-up display I can also show you. And the screen zoom more details to that, but it's really very well to see because it's quite large. And also the instruments, everything you can see when I turn up the engine. The steering wheel has a good size, also some shifting pedals here if you like them, so shift down and shift up. That can also be quite fun and sporty. Then a separate climate unit still here, you can control it while driving. And you can also use the voice input either with the button on the steering wheel or saying, "Hey BMW, please drive me to Berlin."
All right. Our next destination is Berlin.
So, like GPS input works, then inductive charging pad for your smartphone. Since you have the wireless CarPlay, it makes sense. The USB-A device, adaptive cup holders, they can be cooled and heated actually. That's pretty fancy. And this crystal gear shifting knob, together with the controller where you can still control the touchscreen from lower part here. That's helpful while driving. And air suspension goes up 4 centimeters and down 4 centimeters, so over a span of 8 centimeters. Might be good for some off-road situations and so on. And then there's this middle armrest which flips open and some more space underneath, together with another USB-C device. You see here this integration is very well done, and you can always go back to the normal BMW infotainment system. And when the engine is running, you can see here in those digital instruments that the RPMs go counterclockwise actually, and in the middle you can have the GPS view. That's the reason for the counterclockwise, because you have then space on the middle part. And by the way, this top part there, it checks you out that you are not tired and then suggests those brakes and so on. So yeah, you're a little bit spied on by your own car. And with the head-up display, you can see the current speed, the allowed speed, and also some GPS directions. There will also be some, let's say, map schematics when you are approaching the next intersection and so on, and really helpful feature. You might remember that the X5, which is a great SUV in this segment, has one problem, is the rear legroom. And here in the X7 we have either a bench that goes all the way through, or this one here, the captain's seat setup. We have in general 9 centimeters more legroom right here. However, considering the length of the vehicle, and you look at the legroom you have here, of course it's plenty, there's no problem for tall adults, but still the package of this car is not good. So if you consider the exterior length versus the interior space you have, it's interesting here, definitely. Headroom wise, it does exactly fit. Well, I do hit the ceiling when I put my spine all the way up. There's also an additional small glass roof here, also with an additional shade right there. And there's also a separate climate control if you like, for example, and also separate cup holders. And you also have a own USB-C device here. And well, it's actually quite cozy, but the question is legroom wise. So the thing is here, the seat as I have it here, put it to a position where I could still sit in the front on those captain seats, and then it barely fits behind it. And if I would put the captain seats all the way back like the other one, then it doesn't fit at all. So for adults, still quite limited. This is of course where it gets really exciting. 326 liters, just the rear letter part, and here the split opening where you can also take a seat right here for the picnic, for example, a small cover right there. So this one is the minimum trunk setup here, some more space underneath, and then there's also the a bigger cover available. And in this setup here, it's still possible to put a cabin trolley in like this. That's actually good. And then your luggage is also kept. If you have some more luggage, then you have to flip the seats anyway. And then you can also use those special buttons at the left side, and for example also just press this maximum button, and then it goes on to the 750 liter setup like it is right now. And the maximum setup for the non-captain seat version is 2120 liters, but that cannot be reached here. So you see, that's the limitation then here. Well, let's put it in sport mode, and Let's see how it handles here in those tighter corners, and wow, you feel the weight definitely, but it's still somehow fun. So you get something of this BMW feeling, yes. But again, you know, the longer I drive the car, that's by the way, you know, the luggage in the rear, that's also a problem because, you know, you have like the 6th and 7th, or in this case then the 5th and the 6th seat flipped, and then your luggage is not, let's say, secured, and it's like sliding all over the place, showing it early in the interior part. But I mean, not too happy. It's especially the first time I have to say about the BMW car that I'm not really. Oh wait, yeah, the X2 with the fixed sport suspension, that was also, you know, too stiff. But here, somehow not feeling it with the suspension and the wheels set up here today. Maybe it's the M performance setting for this adaptive damper. Maybe it's a 22-inch wheel, or maybe it is exactly this combination that is somehow not, you know, that aligned with the car overall. That might be it. So now some more countryside roads, and wow, this engine is really very powerful. At the same time, so far I was driving it rather, you know, in an eco way. So this is the big advantage for the diesel here. 7.5 liters on 1 kilometers. So we'll probably go up to 8 liters when I drive a little bit faster. Yes. But that's like 30 mpg US, 35 mpg UK. And that's really amazing for such a big vehicle. And you might remember from the other review, you know, from with the 6-cylinder petrol, was rather like 10 to 11 liters or more kilometers. So it was already in the 20-something mpg areas. And then with the V8 petrol, that was rather like 14 liters or more kilometers. And yeah, more in the MPG regions where you have a 1 in front. So yeah, this one is definitely more fuel saving, so that does make a significant difference. Yet at the same time, this one here is as fast as the V8 petrol engine. So that's also, you know, that might be a reason to go for that one. And as you hear, the sound is really quite nice. And now in the sports mode, when they get some more feedback from the suspension and also the road is even, then this combination starts to pick up again and is a lot of fun. So I can really conclude that when you have a lot of potholes, yeah, this adaptive M suspension, air suspension with the 22-inch wheels, not the best. But when the road is good and you want to drive a little bit sportier, then it works to make this huge car sportier, especially in combination with the rear axle steering, which makes the ride more agile. Then it's definitely a lot of fun, and you start to forget how big the car is, and you start to have just more driving fun like here. And wow, especially in the sports mode, that performance diesel is wow. I mean, it's going and going and going. This one here, the M50d, also has performance brakes, so they are a little bit more aggressive. I like that. I like when the brakes are aggressive. So good as for that. Of course, the sound not only comes from the actuator, but also from the M Performance Sports exhaust. And there's also the rear differential lock, the sports differential. Yeah, I mean, it's when accelerating out of the corners, but since this one here is always all-wheel drive anyway, also torque is being sent to the front wheels, and then it doesn't make, you know, too much of a difference if you have a differential lock. It would be even more different if there's a car with just one axle driving the wheels. Lovely countryside roads right there, and wow, this is now a lot of fun, although it is a big car. But when you are on the brakes and then you go in the corner, then of course you do feel you can't defy physics that this car is pushing you to the outside of the corner. But that's no surprise at all. You can enjoy the sound here also with me. Steering gives very good feedback, especially in the sports mode, a little bit stiffer. So now the stop sign recognition, also with an acoustic warning and the visual warning in the head-up display. Really decent. And so I promised that to you earlier, that now we're heading onto the motorway. Yeah, we had to take, you know, short extra way because of that roadblock. But now there's also a piece where we can have unlimited acceleration, unlimited speed. As I said, 5.4 seconds to 100 kilometers or 62 miles an hour. And now we accelerate even further and see really about the performance here in the sports mode. Definitely really cool. So I think we have to leave those cyclists by first, and that he leaves me first to drive. Yeah, we leave the cyclist always first. Good. Yeah. Always good, you know, to pay respect to each other here on the road. So now we're heading on there, and I mean, won't do like a full stop with this car, you know. And then the all-wheel drive will also distribute it a little bit to the wheels, but there's still a rear-wheel bias, of course, with this car. So sports mode, all the full 400 horsepower now, and we accelerate from about 40 kilometers an hour to whatever. Let's see. And that's 200 kilometers an hour or 125 miles per hour. And this is like a rolling wall now, a rolling wall which is like fast as a bullet. And even at those higher speeds, the noise cancellation remains great. Here now on the brakes, you don't even have to hammer them hard, and already we're at 100 again, where I just slightly went on the brakes, so the braking performance is excellent here. And now to our conclusion for today with the BMW X7, especially here today with the M50d. In general, the X7, yeah, I mean, it's a little bit heavier and not that agile to drive than the X5. It's a new competitor here to the Mercedes GLS. Both of those have also their pros and cons. Here definitely with this special captain seat setup, a little bit more exclusive, so to say. But then again, you have this disadvantage that you cannot fold them all flat. That one then is better with the captain seats of the Mercedes GLS, depends on what you need and what you want. This does, you know, feel still agile to drive, it's fun to drive, yes, at, you know, to a certain point, of course. If you should go for the M Performance model, well, I mean, it doesn't differ that much. Then again, this little bit stiffer suspension with the M setup and the 22-inch wheels, as I said earlier in the driving part, was not too pleasing to me today. I think to this car, the normal setup with the softer air suspension and maybe, let's say, 20-inch or maybe maximum 21-inch wheels does fit better to the overall vehicle. So, yeah, I mean, it still was a great ride and very relaxing and refined and so on. But the other two X7 I was driving, you know, in the other review you can find those. I found those, you know, a little bit more convincing. What's cool here with the diesel that you can get a low fuel consumption for such a big car. The inline 6-cylinder diesels BMW is offering, they are really very good. They are, you know, offering good performance, yet they offer a good fuel economy. So that's definitely the biggest thing about this car. And of course the range here, you know, more than 800 kilometers of range without refueling. That's another advantage if you compare them to the petrols. The petrols are also powerful, yes. This one here as powerful as the V8 petrol engine, but I think the best combination also for the X5 is to me somehow the inline 6-cylinder petrol engine. You somehow feel it fits best to the car overall. Interior space, well, they don't use the space they have, let's say, because everything is also quite voluminous on the inside. So there are other cars which are way smaller, which also have decent space on the interior. But of course, here you have more than enough space and you're quite flexible. So it's a very exclusive riding experience, especially also for the passengers in the rear. Of course, more sustainable materials are lacking, especially for the interior. What's your opinion on this very car and also the variant we tested here today? Tune into the other reviews of the X7 and also see you next time. Thank you so much for being with us here today.